All right, y'all. Last time we photo bashed this character. Now we're going to animate it using the puppet warp method. Um, so I messed around with this a little bit more and I got it to a place I liked. Let's delete some of that, but I want to use the puppet warp method. Um, just knowing how I animate, I want to make this image a little bit bigger. So let's give ourselves some room. This seems like enough space. And then I want to make this a smart object. How do you make it a smart object? We are going to go to, we're going to go to layer, we get a smart object, and we click on convert the smart object. And then we can see in our layer, we have this little like paper icon, or that's how I like to call it. It looks like a piece of paper that's being like uh, flip to a different page. If that's on, that means it's a smart object. If it's not on, that means it's not a smart object. And how to make a smart object again? We go to layer, smart objects, create into a smart object. I have my image right here, and I want to use the puppet warp method. And you might be asking, what is that? And I want to show you. We go to edit, make sure we select our subject, our layer that we're going to animate. That's like a smart object. And we go to edit and we go to puppet warp. Then we see this. And it kind of looks like there's like a wireframe around our whole image. That's when we know we're in the puppet warp section. And this is when we can start putting points down. You're going to have to ground the image. So put 2 points down at the bottom. And then I want these arms to move a little bit, and I put them down in the head. And I want a few in the face, and then we're solid for this part. Um, we can click the move tool again, and then we're going to put apply puppet warp. There we go. I like to save all of my keyframes. So I want to save this as is, save as, and we're going to put keyframe 0. And it's saved as a PNG. And then we press OK. And now we can mess around with the puppet warp again. And all of our work is saved just because of the smart object. So now we can move around all of our little points we made on our subject. And then again, after when we're done, slight movements, we want to save each keyframe. I want to save it to 1. And I'm going to do this over and over again a few more times, and then we can go into the timeline. Again, to go back to Puppet Warp, we go to Edit, Puppet Warp. Change it a little bit. Press Enter. File, Save As, Keyframe 2. Edit, Puppet Warp. Change it ever so slightly. And like, if you see this, if it's moving not the way you want, then that's when you put more points down in this area. So I'm seeing it when I move the head, the arm moves a little funky. Let's stop that. Let's put some more points down. But then we can move those points as well. I actually kind of like that. And we're just going to do that a few more times. Kind of looks like the character is puffing up their chest. File, save as. At this point, all of y'all should get what we're going for. You can animate this in any way you want using this method. So this is how I do it. But I would highly suggest finding your way to do things using this method. You definitely don't have to make things how I do. The main thing I want from all of y'all is to find your own voice using these tools. And let's see, let's save. I don't remember if I saved. So let's just save that to 6. There we go. Press OK. So you have all your keyframes and you're asking, I just have this. I have one layer. I have the last layer I did. There's different ways to do this part. But I have this open and I'm going to go to File. And then we're going to go down to Scripts. And then we're going to load scripts in the stack. And then you're going to see the load layer section. And we're going to use files. You could use the folder as well. If you have if you have all of your keyframes saved in a folder, you can definitely click on that folder. But we're going to go for files. And then we're going to go to browse. And then we're going to find our keyframes. And we're going to hit Control. And we're going to select all of our keyframes or images and then press OK. And then we're going to press OK again. And then we're going to see all of our keyframes load into into Photoshop in the section we were just in. Well, that's happening. Let's close some stuff out. Okay, let's see if they're all there. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. Sometimes this happens. We just need to move this layer. Oh, I don't need, let me delete that layer because we don't need that. I selected one we did not need. Okay, so we have all of our layers and we have all of our images in Photoshop. And then we're going to open up the timeline. If the timeline is not there, let me close out of this. We're going to go to Windows and all the way down to timeline. And then it should pop up. And then we're going to click on the timeline. Let me go back. Once you have the timeline open, you're going to see this little section right here. It's going to say create video timeline. Let's click on that. Now it's the same way. It's pretty much the same steps we did to make our pixel art animation. We should know this already. We should know this part in theory. But again, everything's on the timeline. Everything's on top of each other. So when I play it, nothing happens. But if you want to add a few more things, you can do that during this section. So I'm going to duplicate some layers. And move them down. Realize my third one is missing. That's okay. Maybe I didn't make a third one and I skipped when I was saving. I'll double check that. If not, that's okay. So I have all of my layers, they're on top of each other. What do you do at this point? We are going to make these shorter, and there's a reason why, because once you click, we don't want each keyframe this long. So that's what we're changing right now. Move this up. This is why I take out each section, because most of all of y'all, it's going to be down at the bottom. This is going to be up here. I don't like that. That's why I move everything out of the way so I can click and drag where I want everything. The camera is in the way. Just like with our pixel art characters, it's the same steps. So now I want to move these into the timeline where I want them. And let's see what this looks like when I press play. I'm fine with that. So once you're done with your animation, we have to do the following. We need to save this, but we're just not going, we can't go to File, Save As, because there's no option for a GIF. Let's cancel that. We have to go to File, Save As, oh, sorry, File, Export, not Save As, File, Export, and then go down to Save for Web Legacy. And since it's a bigger file, it's going to take a little bit time to load. And trust me, when you see this, it's everything is there. We can zoom out if you want, or we can just click save. So I'm going to click save, and then we're going to save it onto our hard drive. We want to save it in a section. Mine is video for this year. And then I'm going to save it as mask, body, and then the date. And then click save. It's going to take a little bit to load. There we go. Let's just double check just to make sure it's there. Let's find this file. There we go. I can upload this to Giphy if I wanted to and use it for social media, which I would recommend all of y'all to do. And other than that, this is how we animate in Photoshop using the Puppet Warp method.